Hello, this is Saurabh. Very excited to say hello to my friends in APAC. We will start in actually a few seconds here. So stick around. We are going to talk about case deflection with Salesforce Service Cloud and AI. So let's get it rolling. Thanks everyone for joining. My name is Saurabh Gupta. I am the co founder at GPT-5 and Cloud Compliance. We are a Salesforce App Exchange ISV partner and we focus on data security and AI. I'm based in Chicago. I spent a lot of time at Salesforce, and in my prior life, I was an enterprise architect. So that is my background. Let's continue rolling. So, our agenda today is going to be packed with a lot of real live demos. So, we're going to talk about what are some of the common service and support challenges. We're going to talk about case and support lifecycle with AI. We are going to give you a couple of demos. We'll show very interesting things around how you can route your cases using AI, how you can automate case resolution and email generation, how you can integrate knowledge articles and files using RAG. And finally, we will also show a little bit about Einstein chatbots and some very interesting stuff we are doing there by hooking them chatbots with AI and RAG. We'll get into a little bit of architecture and security, share some resources, and we have some Q&A. I will keep an eye on the comments here, and I think my team's here as well. So definitely, if you are around, please do put comments here, and I'm gonna try and eyeball them every now and then and answer questions as they come up. So that's pretty much it. Moving on. So let's start with really talking about who is supporting your support, right? Typical user experience of any organization is that their customers have to dig for answers. They have to reach out to your call center, they have to open cases, they have to go to chatbots, they have to look at knowledge bases. And most of the time, that user experience is not very pretty. They can't navigate to the right place, they can't find right options. Sometimes it's very manually intensive and confusing. The user experience is very inconsistent. What you talk to with someone on a chatbot versus on a phone versus looking at knowledge bases, it's all just not seamless, and it almost always feels kind of broken. And this has become a significant challenge for organizations large and small, regardless of the segment you operate in. You could be healthcare, insurance, higher education, financial services, B2B software company, or B2C retail, university, something like that. It really doesn't matter. Any business that has to address questions from their customers struggle with how they do it. So much of optimization happens on the sales side, but we are seeing a turn across the board. One of the examples of how inconsistent the experience is and how it is affecting your business is looking at chatbots. There are a lot of investments made in chatbots, but most people don't want to use it. Predominantly, they don't trust a chatbot can answer questions. Heck, it can't even understand my question if I ask it. And that's a huge problem. As you can see from this survey here, a fraction of customer really want to use a chatbot. If you're airlines, if you're in travel, if you are in B2C segments, if you have a return material authorization kind of thing going on, if you have e-commerce, guess what? People don't want to talk to a chatbot, which is your lowest cost way or one of the lowest cost way to address customer challenges. They want to talk to a human, which costs you a lot of money. And the problem is chatbots are really easy to spend money on and deploy, but they can be terrible when it comes to end user experience. So that's one of the areas I'll touch on and show you a bit of demo around. Let's move on. Why is there an emphasis on customer success support and renewals? Because what's happening with most organizations, large and small, is that they're finding that the revenue share of support and related services and renewals has been consistently increasing. A lot of businesses are seeing anywhere between, services and support used to be smaller portion, but in some organizations, it's now 30, 40, 50% of their businesses. If you are a leader in an or industry, there is a chance that renewal is 70, 80 or more of your revenue, right? So there is a significant amount of reason to not have support, success, and renewal as an afterthought. The other really important aspect is you look in the last 10 years, and the entire digital transformation is really about this. It's about moving from a transactional mentality to a subscription oriented economy. How do we make sure that people, instead of just buy our stuff once, they repeatedly buy every month, every quarter, every year? How do we make sure they also tell their friends? The other thing that's really interesting is, as humans, our expectations have become dramatically different. For a fraction of a price, I can get a coffee. I can buy an electronic device from a Starbucks, from an Apple, and I get an experience that is significantly better than what I would spend trying to buy a car in a car dealership. The sheer difference in experience between buying a $6, $7 cup of coffee versus buying a 40, $50,000 car is so dramatic. And we as individuals are choosing not to go through a painful experience when it comes to sales. And it's equally true for support. The third part of this is we have choices, and those choices, thanks to the internet and mobile applications and just general competitiveness, have increased significantly, which means customer churn is a significantly larger reality for every organization today. And support is now a competitive advantage. So let's take a look at what this means when you think about generative AI. So, when you think about generative AI, it's really good at doing a couple of things. It's really good at automating repetitive tasks. It's excellent at summarizing information and generating emails. And it's actually very good at pulling insights out of text and files. So, a couple of things here. One, all of this is about unstructured data. Support has significantly more unstructured data than sales. Why? Because as a customer, my complaint will be in my words, right? So I may send you an email, I may chat with a chatbot, I may be on a call, and that call transcript, all of that is unstructured data. All the back and forth that happens on case comments or chatter feeds, etc., again, unstructured data. I may send you log files, I may send you other kind of diagnostic files. So a lot of that information is lends itself very well to using generative AI. The second part of this is, because support is so much about automation of repetitive tasks, AI can actually be a really competitive advantage to lower the cost and still raise the bar on experience. But you have to really think deeply about how you would do it. And the third part of this is, an average support rep is overwhelmed with notifications, messaging, 15 different places they have to go to get content. How do you look at AI and try to utilize it to do more with less without distraction? Hopefully, you automate, hopefully, you reduce the amount of effort. The last thing I want is my support rep to talk to a co pilot experience and type in a question and get answers. What I would like is a lot of this to be automated beforehand so that they are doing more review and approval rather than research and formulate. So basically, a lot of things that you could get with some version of a chat GPT, but more specific to enterprises. So let's take that mentality and move further on. Let's take a look at a classic support lifecycle. The first idea is case deflection. The best cases are the ones that just don't get created, right? So when you think about case deflection, can you do that? Can we do a better job with chatbots? Can we actually make them conversational? Can we integrate them with our internal knowledge bases? Can they become as good as the experiences we are starting to get with, Amazon Alexa, or with maybe Apple Siri in future, or with the Hey Google on Android devices, right? How can we bring that sort of a very conversational experience, and how can we extend that into email to case forms and all of those other related things? The second part of this is case creation. How can you do a better job using AI of automatically generating summarizations, analysis, enrich the case with proposed resolution, route them more intelligently, and do case classification, categorization, things like that? Third part of this is case resolution. Again, can I automatically have AI just resolve it? Maybe not close it, but resolve it or put up a proposed resolution for my rep to look at it? Can it automatically generate an email that my rep can look at it with specific resolution steps, make changes if they want to send it out? Can we do sentiment analysis? Today, a significant amount of case related stuff basically goes into a survey, which is a postmortem idea, right? Like, I close the case, you get a survey, you can say, oh, this was good, this was terrible. Doesn't matter. I can't really fix it other than apologizing if your experience was bad. What AI can do is literally, as you have case comments, as the case is going through its phases, you can automatically get sentiments at every step. And if you think this is a customer where the case is going negative, it's going to turn red, you can have somebody else interject and actually address those kind of challenges, right? Again, another interesting area is root cause analysis. Can you actually look at the case and figure out what happened, right? Can you finalize a root cause analysis that can then be fed back into whatever that challenge is and solve it? Maybe there is a product problem, maybe there is a deficiency in our knowledge base, maybe there is a challenge with how users are trying to use it and how we are communicating it. The ability to look at all the wealth of information you have and crystallize it down to something realistic is super compelling. And all of these are things that you can do today with GPT-5, which is our App Exchange app that allows you to do that by bringing your own AI into Salesforce. You can also do that with using generative AI, probably by building it yourself, and good luck with that. But those are your options. I'm going to take a second and take a look if there are any questions coming in. So bear with me. All right, I'm not seeing any. Cool. So let's move on. So basically, when you look at this case life cycle and how you can optimize, upsell, and do all of that, that is where we are looking at utilization of AI. So let me actually just jump directly into a demo and show you some examples of how that would work. So we'll take an example of a case. I'm going to go here to my Salesforce, and I am on a case record. Let me just do this. Let me also refresh it. All right. So I have a case. As you can see, somebody's asking a question about, can they migrate their data masking mapping? So we do have a data masking, a sandbox data masking product for Salesforce called Data Masker. And this is a question for it, right? Very typical of an email to case. I have a subject, I have some description of it, and basically that's it. Now, what you see here, this little toolbar is GPT-5, and what you see here are prompts. So I'm going to pick the first prompt, which is an AI prompt, and I'm going to run it. And the idea is, when I run this, it takes this information, it takes this description on this, and it basically takes the account contact name and things. We will filter out all of the PII. We have a native trust layer. It goes to AI, gets answers to a summary of this case. What's the product? What's the type of query, and all of that. And GPT-5 will automatically basically fill this. Sorry, it looks like I am disconnected here. Let's see if it runs now. Okay, I'm going to run it again. Oh, it said disconnected, but it populated. Anyway, so what you can see here is that I now have a summary. I have a product that's identified. You can see what is the nature of inquiry, the language, and all of that, right? So all of that is here. This could have been completely automated, and we support that, right, with GPT-5. So the idea is, if an email to case came in, if a web to case request came in, something like this, you can automatically enrich that case, classify and categorize it. And then this categorization can fuel your routing rules. You can put it on the appropriate queue, you can send it to the right team, and they can really work this out. And that way, you have the ability to eliminate any manual effort here. This is particularly true with email to case, because email to case has this problem that it's really hard to figure out what somebody said. It's an email, I can send whatever, right? The other part of this that I find interesting is, because we can do things like language detection also. If you run a large global support organization, and if you have multilingual teams, this case can now go to the appropriate team. So that's the first aspect of this. The second part of this is now I want to get a resolution. So I'm going to take this proposed resolution. And when I run this, GPT-5 is going to send this information to my AI model, which in turn is connected to a RAG, a retrieval augmented generation data store, which is basically fed all the information from knowledge articles, PDFs, knowledge bases, whatever we have. And the idea is when this thing runs, it will automatically populate my proposed resolution here. So let's run this. And what you will see is it takes all this information about data masker, what it knows about the mapping and all of that. And the idea is it, churns it, gets some answers back. So yeah, it does have this answers telling, hey, you can extract the CSV, do something with it. And what you can see is all of that information is populated here. So what happened here under the hood? Let's take a look at that. I'm going to click on this, and what it will show you is what we call a security audit record. This is the GPT-5's audit record. There's a prompt. I'll dive into the prompt in a minute. But what you see is we sent it some information, literally very little information in this case, just the subject, right? And in the response, what happened is AI reached out to the RAG model and it got back responses. So you're starting to see where this is getting responses from. It is actually pulling from some of our internal knowledge base articles. And these are all, this is where you have the ability to actually go to that specific article. And I could have added that, information in my response if I wanted. So basically, I get all this, then GPT-5 parses it, creates like a more human readable response, and that is the response that you start to see here. And the beauty is now this response can be sent in an email. I can connect this to an Einstein chatbot and give a response like this through chat. So what you're seeing is a couple of things. One, the ability for us to now have a conversational interface, right? Someone can ask question in plain English, AI can understand, find the answer, come back with a plain English human readable version of it. This is not a templatized answer. This is specific to the question that was asked, and it could have been in different languages. The third part of this is that's great. I routed it, my I was able to do this, and this up until this part everything could have been fully automated, but now I want to send an email. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a third portion of this. So I have this email prompt, and what it will do is it'll take this information, it will ground it in the CRM data. We know that this is a case opened by Marty, so we will ground it in CRM data and we will generate out an email subject and body. So let's run this thing. I could have added additional information here about like, hey, yeah, let's meet next week or something if I wanted that. But I'm just going to run this as is. So what you see now is going to be, we take all of this information, the resolution we got, information about the person who opened this case, and we are going to see in a minute a generated out email. And that will get populated here as soon as our AI gets a response back. While it's doing that, I am going to try and see if there are any other comments. All right, so we have a response here. Give me a sec. I'm going to see if I can see the comments. Oh, all right, I see a bunch of people there. Great. Some questions. I'll take a look at them in a minute. Great. So now you see this response here, right? The email subject is here, email body is here. Okay, someone mentioned my voice is echoing, so I'm going to bring my mic a little bit closer. Hopefully, this is better. So you're starting to see that I have a subject, I have an email body, which is great, right? And this is all populated here, and you can obviously see it here also. And you see that we have grounded it in CRM data, right? It knows who I am, it knows who the person was, all of that information is here. And because this is in a field here, right, so I now have the ability to, I could have just generated an email, I can connect it to an email template, put it on with my header, disclaimers, all of that. I can also click this little button here, and essentially it will populate it in Salesforce's send an email box, and I could have just sent it out from here. So that's an example of this, right? You see the subject is here, you've got all of this information here. I can also just copy it to my clipboard, go to my Gmail, Outlook, whatever I use, paste it there, and go from there. I can create a task out of it if I wanted to and assign it to someone and say, hey, send an email, do this, call them, whatever I need to do. So that's the beauty of all of this, is that you can now eliminate a lot of things that are happening manually today up until this point. I can completely automate it until this point with GPT-5. So an email comes in, gets routed correctly, a recommended resolution is associated with it, and a proposed email response is generated. And then me as a rep can look at this. I can go here, I can click on this, and then I may go, well, yeah, that's great. I'm going to add some more here, right? And I may say it was good talking with you, blah, 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 whatever I want. And by automating all of that, I have saved a significant amount of time and effort for my rep. And that is the most interesting part about this. Let's take a look at a bit of under the hood in what happened here. I have a prompt. What you can see is this prompt is going to give me back this. So it'll have an email subject. It has a body. Actually, let me open this in my prompt builder here. So as you see in this prompt builder, we have CRM grounding. So contact.name, created by.name, all of that, right? And I'm bringing in information from the case, related case, comment, email messages. This I think is one of the most compelling part of GPT-5 is you can determine what field values you want to send to AI, right? So you can just come here and these are all the fields on case. There are standard field, custom field, all of that. I can pick whatever I want. I can send it. If I wanted to mask information, I could have just said here, hey, for full name, mask this value. And instead of this, send person full one. Like literally, that's all I have to do. And we will mask any piece of information going out. This is really useful for a lot of our regulated industry customers who are very concerned about, PII, PHI, personal information, and you want to keep it inside Salesforce. So we are able to do that, right? The other part of this is you can bring additional information. So let's say you may have other objects you want to bring data from. For this particular case, maybe you have some sort of machine generated data, maybe you have asset related information that you want to bring. You may have all other kind of standard custom object, managed package objects. You may want to do this thing for field service lightning type use cases. Whatever your scenarios are, you can bring those objects very very easily in here, as long as they have an association with the parent object here, which is case. The other part of it that I find really interesting is not only can you do it at these two levels, I can actually do it at this level also. So if I had another object related to case comments, which I don't, I would be able to bring that, right? So I have the ability to bring a lot of information from whatever else is associated, and I can basically go parent child grandchild, or parent related lookup onto a second level, related lookup onto a third level. So lots of capability to bring significant amount of information. You can also do that with external objects. So if you have data that's not in Salesforce, but in some other OData store, so maybe it's in SAP, in Oracle, in some Microsoft technology stuff, you can bring all of that. And the beauty of all of this is that from a support standpoint, you are able to answer questions that are significantly complex and significantly time consuming in a very, very simple manner. Here is the process version of it. I'm going to show you a little bit more on how you can do the same sort of thing with chatbots. But as you can see here, we got an email, data was extracted, sent to AI. AI did something with it, came back with resolution, it's connected to RAG. GPT-5 then updates it on AI, and you have all of this routing and email drafts that you can generate. Very standardized, very very simply available today, and you can reduce your cost. You can improve the speed, the mean time to resolution, the customer satisfaction, things like that. So that's on this front here. Let's talk a little bit about chatbots now. So chatbot is another interesting area, and chatbots have a problem. The problem is user experience sucks. Nobody wants to use a chatbot, because what happens with a chatbot is you get what you see here on the left hand side. A regular chatbot will be like, hello, blah, blah, blah. You have a bunch of options. You can click one of them. You can even ask a question, but it really doesn't have a conversational skill to answer. It really is a fancy search. It'll go come back with some search results. It doesn't really understand a lot of what you really asked. The other challenge is it doesn't give you any account information, right? If I said, what's the status of my application? how much fees do I owe you guys, right? When is my bill due? I want to change my flight. So a lot of that stuff is not available so easily. You have to write a fair bit of code and kind of hook it up. And even then, you're kind of in the flow world that where you're going to say, okay, click this, do that, right? You can't be very conversational the way generative AI lets you be. Think of, how do I go from this experience to a chat GPT type experience? That's hard to do. The other challenge is, because a regular Einstein chatbot or any other technology chatbot tends to be rule based, you have to do intent detection, which means, you would say, hey, if I didn't answer, type in agent, right? Or type in representative. But if I said I want to talk to a human, I want to talk to a manager, I want to talk to a person, it may not understand. You have to literally write every possible utterance that you think that your chat visitor might say. So it doesn't do a very good job of keyword identification, intent detection, things like that. And you obviously have no summarization of chat. You have no intelligence into how did the conversation go. Were they happy? Were they unhappy? You're like basically flying in blind. And so what we did is we took the Salesforce Einstein chatbot and we connected it with GPT-5, and through GPT-5 with AI. And what that does is it makes this experience very conversational. You can even get it multilingual if you wanted, because AI can be multilingual, right? The second part of this is you can get account specific information because GPT-5 has that context. Again, this is assuming that the user is logged in. So if you have a communities page and you have customer portal that customers are logging in, or partner portal where they're logging in, then they can say, hey, tell me about this deal, tell me about where my order is, I have my case, what's going on with my case. A lot of that type of conversation can now be done with chatbots. And what Salesforce has done, which is really interesting, is that what you see on the right here is the new enhanced version of Salesforce chatbot. It is also known as MIAW, which stands for mobile, in-app, and web, which means you can embed the Salesforce enhanced chatbot inside your custom mobile app. You can embed it inside your custom application. If you've built an app on non-Salesforce infrastructure, maybe it's a React JS app or something, you can put it in there. You can also integrate it with WhatsApp, WeChat, SMS, things like that. So it's a much superior architecture. What we have done is we've taken that enhanced chatbot and and we wired it up through GPT-5 with AI. And so you can get even more value out of it. And I'm going to show you this, very excited about that portion. So let me jump into that. All right. And I'm going to go here in this environment. So I have this person, Mark Johnson, and the example here is from a student. And so the intent here is, Mark is a student. He's got some transactions for fees, some grades, right? He's in the university, and he has some questions about the school itself, right? So he can go to their web page and he can ask questions, right? So this is just a communities page. Mark is logged in. I have this chatbot. Just to kind of make sure it works well, I'm going to refresh this and grab a little bit of water while it does that. All right, looks like our chatbot is here. It's saying, hey, welcome, all of that. And again, obviously, you have all the options to brand it the way you want. I'm going to first ask a very generic, how do I type question, right? So I'm saying, do you offer on campus health and wellness? Now, notice like how in the past we had menu options. Here, I don't have any menu option. This is very conversational. And so, sure, I ask a question, I get an answer. And you see, the answer is very conversational, right? It's not like, here is a link to an article. It is actually like talking to a human. Yes, we offer this, all of that. And that's the beauty of asking questions from an AI based chatbot, is that I can keep on doing that and it will answer me questions. I'm going to copy paste another question here and I'll just ask that. And what you start to see is that chatbots have this ability to do it, because in this case, the Einstein enhanced chatbot is connected with GPT-5, which in turn is connected with AI and RAG model. I'll explain the architecture a bit more. But that's interesting, right? Great. I have a chatbot. It answers some questions from an FAQ, right? That's okay. Let's try to see if it can answer more specific questions. So I'm going to ask it, what are my grades? And we'll see if it understands enough to tell me my grades, right? It can't. So it tells me that it'll connect me. I'm going to just end this conversation and restart. I think it probably didn't connect correctly. So let me just do that. Bear with me. I'm going to hopefully restart this thing, reload it, and it works. And if it doesn't, bear with me. That's just how demos are in real world. um, so it's booting up, and while it's doing that, I'm going to take another look if there are any questions that I can answer. So bear with me. I'm on my phone, going back to this event. All right. Use cases, confidence level, we can auto send. Oh wow, lots of questions. Okay, cool. Well, let's see if this works, and we can get into architecture and dive into some questions after that. How much fees have I paid? See if it does. And the idea is that it can look at this and I can say, can you give me fee details by semester, and see if it gives me some more information. So it's now telling me a lot more, right? It was first only telling me for fall. Now it's like, okay, you want all the details? Here's more details. What's interesting about this is that today to do this is not easy. It's just not out of the box experience, right? Because you have to connect your Einstein chatbot to an AI model, and you have to do this securely. You have to also connect your AI model to a RAG for all the how do I type FAQ questions. And with GPT-5, we have done both of them. So out of the box, we have the ability to really wire this up mostly declaratively for you. You literally just have to configure an AI model connection. You have to bring your own model, and you start to get this kind of things. So this is interesting, right? The other part of this is I'm going to ask it a question that it should not answer. How can I buy Bitcoins? Right? This is a question that we don't want our chatbot to hallucinate or give an inappropriate answer. So you see that it doesn't do that, right? So we've put a lot of guardrails around it so that it doesn't do any of those things. And it will now say, hey, I can connect it to a person, I can answer. And we configure it for our customer so it can just create a case instead. But the idea is this is a very secure integration of AI so that you can make it customer facing, dramatically reduce the cost, and at the same time actually solve real world problems. One of the areas where I think AI is taking a beating is that there is so much hype and not enough focus on solving these real world problems. We are doing that for a lot of our customers, and I'm so glad to see putting technology to work on things like this. For every business today, we want to make sure that we offer our customers a really good experience, and that sometimes means getting out of their way, right? And this lets you do that. We are out of their way. They can ask questions. If they don't like the answers, or if they really need to talk to a human, they can probably just say, hey, connect me to an agent, connect me to a human, and it'll probably do that. um, let's try the grades question against. You tell me my grades for the courses I took, and see if it works. And you can see this right now, it's giving you the grades, it's telling you the fees. The point is, if you're a bank, you could do something similar. Maybe not give out account balances, but there may be things that you can do. And with GPT-5, what we have done is we have locked it down so extensively that you determine what amount of this information is accessible to a chatbot. So this is not a free for all where the chatbot has access to everything in Salesforce, and in a very movie style, somebody's just going to hack it through and bring out all the information. We are a data security company, so we've taken a lot of precautions to make this work. So, with that, let's kind of jump a little bit back into architecture, security, some of those areas where we get a lot of questions. So I'm gonna pull up my deck again. We already looked at these two. Oh, I forgot some very important stuff to show you. Let me actually do that. Let me go back to this. So this is great. I did this. I'm gonna end this conversation. Okay. And the idea is that, once this conversation ends, GPT-5 can automatically generate a call summary, a chat summary for this. So I'm going to back in GPT-5 here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to what is known as messaging sessions, right? So with the enhanced chatbot, Salesforce generates records in what it calls messaging sessions. And I'm going to pick one of these records just to show us how it looks like, right? So I'm going to go on this record. And what you're going to see here is that a summary has automatically been generated, right? You're like, hey, this is what the conversation was, this is what this person asked, and you also get a sentiment, which in this case is neutral. So if this was a really long conversation, nobody's reading that. A summary is really useful. The second part of this is if the sentiment was negative, someone can now go read, look at the summary, and see what went wrong. You now have a more data driven approach to fixing areas of your user experience that are not working out for your end customers. Today most companies don't have that. They're flying in blind, right? If you have an at scale these number of conversations going, if you're doing 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 of them, if you're a bank, financial services, particularly in countries like India where there is such a significantly large population, these are a lifesaver. The fact that I can narrow it down, the fact that I can do keyword isolation on it, which I'm not demoing today, but the idea is I can have a whole list of keywords and keep on applying AI to say, hey, isolate those keywords and populate on these conversations. Then I can take this data into my BI, my warehouse, my data mining softwares, and I can actually say, give me all the conversation where the customer said refund. Give me all the conversation where the customer said new account. Give me all the conversation where the customer said hate, right? I hated the experience, terrible, sucks, right? Whatever it is, you now have the ability to surface them up at scale with your existing technologies. And that is the part about AI that I'm super excited about. The ability to make sense of all this digital exhaust that we are generating is profound in improving that user experience. So that I think, I really hope that this comes through to you and you get an opportunity to make those changes to your user experience, to your chatbot. And if you don't have chatbot, the Einstein chatbot enhanced version I cannot recommend enough, because of the fact that you can embed it into so many different places. You can integrate it with WhatsApp, WeChat, all of those kind of tools that are used in abundance in especially in Asia Pacific. So you have the opportunity to really connect it all back into Salesforce. That is also one of the challenge as an enterprise architect I find with customers, is that you bring some other random chatbot and it's not connected with Salesforce. I don't have the ability to create good cases and do resolution, right? Or routing. I can't do routing very effectively. I can't do skill based routing. So you want to think about this from that perspective of not just here is a cheap chatbot I put, but here is a chatbot I put that is effective enough to overall reduce the cost of support, to dramatically improve the customer experience, and to really solve the problems that people like us were born to solve when it comes to using technology in our businesses. All right, with that out of the way, that's all great, Saurav, but that's the reality, right? You decide, let's go do this, and then you find that AI is super complicated. It is very expensive to put in. You may have to buy a whole lot of license. Everybody's going to tell you you need more data infrastructure, spend a lot of consulting dollars, and every fancy thing that people like Saurabh are showing is all good stuff. It's on the roadmap. It's not available today. And the question I've always heard unspokenly from my prospects is there a better way to do it? And I'm going to try and answer that for you. Everything, by the way, that I showed you is not on roadmap. We do all of that today at GPT-5. We thought of GPT-5 as the Panama Canal or Suez Canal, or a bridge between two very disparate places. And the idea was, you've already invested in your Salesforce, right? Your CRM over the years, you've invested a lot. It does a lot for you, and you're pretty content with some of those areas, and you're making more improvements. Now all of a sudden a new ocean of riches is revealed. It's like, here is AI, and oh my God, all these wonderful things we can do with it. So, how do you get these two to talk without literally crossing this entire ocean? And that is the idea with GPT-5. It is like a Panama Canal. It's like a bridge between these two. So it's a very lightweight but very enterprise grade solution. It's an App Exchange approved app, basically, that you can deploy. Very easy to use. As you saw, it's a drop down, pick a prompt, click a button, execute it, right? We can set it up and have somebody kind of kick tires on it very, very quickly. We have customers that have gone live in weeks with something like this, right? The intention is that everything I'm showing you, or vast majority of it, is declarative. 95% of it is declarative. You can write code if you need to. We provide a lot of hooks. And the reason we are able to do all this is because we are a bring your own model. What that means is we are not selling AI. You bring your AI. So if your strategic partner happens to be Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, Amazon Web Services, you can get AI from any of them, right? You can get AI from OpenAI. Basically, you have an API and a key, and you just connect GPT-5 with your AI. Everything happens inside Salesforce. We connect your AI, we connect your RAG, and we're able to do this. And that is the architecture that has been really the way because of which we are able to execute on it at such a high speed, right? And essentially, what you see here is this little purple dotted box represents your Salesforce infrastructure. GPT-5 is Salesforce App Exchange security approved product, runs natively inside Salesforce. So I have no data center. Our people don't get to see your data at all. And that is particularly regulated industry customers love that about what we are doing. And on the right, you can bring one or as many as you like AI models, because you may want to use different models for different things. Maybe you use OpenAI 4.0, which is a very cost effective model for something. Maybe you want to use Anthropic Claude on AWS because it does some things really well. Maybe you are a big Google Cloud shop and you love Vertex and you want to use that. We don't care. GPT-5 allows you to use whatever you'd like to use. It has a built-in prompt builder, very focused on usability and adoption. I'm going to show you some things there. And then there's a lot of security and privacy baked in. And you have the ability to enable AI across the enterprise with GPT-5 very, very quickly. So that's the idea. This is a link to a group that we have on LinkedIn where we publish a lot of information. Definitely join in there. One of my colleagues will post this link, and you can definitely take a look at that. I want to show you a few more things, but before I do, um, I am going to look at FAQs, the questions that were asked. Also, you could look us up on gptfy.ai. That's the company. There's a lot of stuff here by industries, by features, what kind of things to be aware of, a lot of guides, some demo videos and stuff. You can see a bunch of things there if you like, right? For Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Health Cloud. Our pricing is also published. Again, if you are in an APAC country, reach out to us. We haven't started doing different pricing, but we definitely understand that different countries have different purchasing power parity, so our pricing can be different for your region. But anyway, and it's a product that you can buy for a very specific set of people if you need to. Let me take a look at the questions, grab a little bit of water, and keep those questions coming. All right. I am all right. I am going to go at the very bottom of this. Oh no, on the top. Sorry. Um, Rag hallucination. What about hallucination? Hallucinating bot? Yeah. So I think I answered that question on hallucination. Basically, what we do is let me actually go show you a little bit more on hallucination. That's an interesting idea. So this is the GPT-5 cockpit, right? And what you see here is all the capabilities that are in the GPT-5 box. I am going to show you a little bit of what I was describing earlier as bring your own model. So you can connect GPT-5 to any of the leading AI providers. You can see some of these here, right? AWS, OpenAI, Azure, stuff like that. And you can basically create your own essentially and connect. Very standards based REST endpoint, Salesforce named credentials or external credentials, HTTPS. So very standards based security. I used to work at Salesforce, so I'm super aligned to their recommended best practice, and I would recommend that to all my customers as well. All right, so going back to the hallucination question, right? So I'm going to go here and pick up. I'm going to go to prompt catalog. I'm going to just pull a prompt here and show you, right? So let's go and pick a prompt. I'm just going to go to boost sales. I'm going to just pick the first prompt there, right? So here's a prompt, just a regular prompt, as you can see. And it's got a bunch of things here. It's got a bunch of context mapping, and what you start to see is a couple of things here, right? I can write grounding instructions, right? I can say, hey, do this, and I can add more information there. So that's the first way to prevent hallucination. The second thing I can do is, actually, let me pick a different prompt. This one is active. I want like an inactive prompt. Sorry, just bear with me. I'm going to pick this one, draft. And I can go to edit this prompt. And what you'll see is that I have the ability to add grounding, right? So I can say, hey, do not do this, right? And so you can standardize a lot of these grounding things, and I can just basically select this, I can select that, whatever I think I need to write, and I can say, hey, don't use absolutes, prioritize safety considerations, whatever I want to do. So that's the second part I can do. I can add grounding rules. I can add specific grounding rules on the prompt itself if I wanted to, right? So those are two things I'm doing here. The third part I can do is I can control the temperature of my connection, right? So if I go back here and you see this is the model that I'm using, and you also start to see that I have these temperature fields. And temperature on AI model determines how imaginative you want the AI to be or how fact-based you want to be. Lower temperature, more fact-based; higher temperature, more imaginative. So if you're generating content, you want your AI to be imaginative. Give me 5 ideas to write fancier emails or something, right? But if you want it to be more objective oriented, very good example is case summarizations, resolutions, things like that, you want to lower the temperature. So that's a way to control hallucination. Grounding rules, the baked in grounding rules of GPT-5, and temperature, top P, those kind of settings. We also integrate with third party systems. So if you have like a third party hallucination preventing software, there's a lot of them. We partner with one or two of them also. You can use them. Basically, we support this idea of what we call API data models. So you can plug in your third party system right here, and basically that can be a hallucination detection type thing that we can integrate with. The other part that is really interesting is that every prompt that gets created here, these prompts are exposed as invocable. So you can use them with flow if you want it, right? You can have a flow that calls this prompt, gets an answer, calls some third party for hallucination detection if you so wanted, and you can get that. You can also use these prompts from Apex, so have the same capability there, right? And because we are a bring your own model, you can also have the hallucination detection portion on the other side, on your infrastructure of AI. So a couple of capabilities there that you can use. Hallucination in particular is super important, and we do a lot of work on it with our customers, especially in chatbot type scenario, because that is an end customer facing, right? So let me see what else is there. Any other questions? I'm still looking. Ashish asked, are there use cases where depending on confidence level we can auto send? So we are doing starting to do some things like that, where you have the ability to look at the level of confidence. Let me pull up some record and see if I can show you what it looks like. So see, we get a lot of information back from AI models, and this varies depending on model to model, right? But you start to see, about hate, violence, and other inappropriateness. So you do get information like that, and certain models will give you information on the degree of confidence they have. If you have a model that gives that information, you can then definitely connect with it and utilize that. We do support those kind of capabilities, and if you're interested, it's probably not going to happen today, but if you're interested, reach out to us and we are happy to dive deeper into it. These are areas that are of a lot of interest to us because, as I mentioned, our we've spent a lot of time on data security, privacy of this. uh, Ashish also asked, what is RAG? Ashish, RAG is retrieval augmented generation. And if you go here on our features, you read about it. I think there may be like a little video or something. Okay. But the idea is, think of it in a simple way. Think of RAG as search that is optimized for AI, right? So, like in this example, GPT-5 is running in Salesforce and it can pull data from Salesforce, for example, and it's connected to an AI model. So, if let's say you were doing Amazon Web Services, right, and you have Anthropic Claude, which is your AI model. So, the AI model can respond to your questions based on what it has been trained on, right? Which is whatever Anthropic trained it on or whatever OpenAI trained it on, right? So it can do summarization. You can ask it, hey, give me 5 ideas to write a social media post, and maybe it'll do that. But now you want your AI model to be extremely oriented to your knowledge articles, right? So I want my AI model to basically answer questions based on the information that I have in my knowledge base. Correct. I have my knowledge base and I can go here and I want it to answer based on that. That is where RAG comes. So back on this image, what a RAG does is RAG can pull information from knowledge articles, whether they are Salesforce knowledge articles or whether they're running on some other technology. It can pull data from PDFs, Word documents, CSVs, whatever you have. So basically, think of RAG as something that is smart enough on your stuff. Like it can answer how do I questions specific to some of the things that people may ask a chatbot or you may need from a case resolution perspective. So that's RAG. Uh, Vaishali asked, this is good. What happens if it's unable to come up with a proposed solution and how is it handled? Excellent question. Like I was showing you on the chatbot, right? The idea is we don't want AI to make up responses, correct? If it doesn't have an answer, we want it to say it doesn't have an answer. And then the agent can handle it. This is actually one of the areas, back to hallucination, that a lot of companies are very worried about. They don't want AI to make up answers, right? So that's what you want your AI to do is exactly, if I ask it, how do I buy Bitcoin, right? Like, but when I was asking that kind of a question, um, oops, I think I asked it earlier, it wasn't initialized, but right, so it doesn't have the answer to that. That's what you want it to say. You don't want your AI to do anything else other than say, I don't know. Uh, what else do I have here? I'm looking through this. Kusum mentioned using chatbots is irritating. I am definitely with you on that one, Kusum. Sorry, just the LinkedIn interface makes it really hard for me to look at questions. Bear with me while I'm still kind of going through them. Who else asked a question? Uh, I'm not sure if I'm seeing a lot of other questions here. Rahul answered some of them. There are videos here. All right, I'm not sure. Sorry, guys, I'm not sure if there are other questions. Let me look at my other screen here and see if I can see them. I'm not able to see it on my mobile device. Okay, something's coming up. All right. Two questions. Does GPT-5 work on Salesforce Enterprise Edition? Yes, it does. Do I need Data Cloud to make GPT-5 work? No, you don't. You don't need Data Cloud. You don't need AI Cloud. Your regular Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, any of the industries would work. So if you are on Health Cloud, if you're on Automobile Cloud, Financial Services Cloud, Field Service Lightning, Education Cloud, all of that would work. Non-profit cloud would work. If you are on an OEM edition, if you are on Viva, that would work, right? If you are using Encino, that should work. If you have Salesforce packages, if you have Financial Force, if you have Cvent, you can use any of those with GPT-5. Because we are all metadata driven, it should all be just fine from a GPT-5 standpoint, right? I can again basically pull any of that, start creating prompts like I was showing earlier, and essentially even on a prompt when I go to the data context mapping, I can basically create any kind of data context mapping here, right? So if I uh, okay, as a service rep, can I mark the proposed solution work or should be updated? Excellent question, Vaishali. Actually, that reminds me of something I should have shown earlier. So I'm going to go back to the case that we were looking at, right? Now, there are two things here. This is great. If it was all good, I could have answered this and I could have closed the case. That's fine. But let's say I did not like the answer I got from this this bot here, right? Like this AI response I don't like. Let me actually go to the last one, right? This resolution, let's say I don't like it. I actually can report it. I can say this is incorrect. Someone should look at it, right? And I can say it was a partial response, it was a made up response, it was irrelevant response. So I have the ability to do that, and whatever I'm going to do that here is basically captured against this record. And then we have a whole, in our cockpit we have these AI insights, quality insights, which are all about this feedback that we are capturing. So this is not like we created something you throw out there and maybe it'll work, right? There's a lot of thinking around this where people can actually say, hey, they disliked the responses because of it, and we aggregate it. So, even if you're doing this at scale, you are able to monitor these, because that is the hard part about AI. It's somewhat unpredictable, and everybody's going, I don't know if it gives stupid answers. I don't know if the answers are correct. How would my user report if they are not, right? So that is what we are doing here. The other part of this, which is, back to efficiencies, is right. If I go to one of these, what you will see here is, let me pull that up again, right? So for this email, we are saying it saved you 52 seconds. And what it's basically doing is it's saying, look, if somebody was to write this email, they would spend maybe a minute, minute and a half, right? And that's again very aggressive number, but we want to keep it, like in your advantage, right? But the point is, you're seeing that 52 seconds are saved here, correct? And we aggregate all of that over, and we create what is known as an ROI dashboard. So you can look at how much time and money you're actually saving your organization. If you are in tech, if you are a consultant, if you're helping a customer, one of the hardest thing is they're going, it's just a claim. Everybody claims that you're going to come and we will save 500x return on investment and it's awesome and ours is the best, right? How do you really validate those? This is very, very empirical way of of validating it. This is measurements, this is data driven, this is not some hype, this is not some sales guy saying, my god, my software is the best. You now have the ability in your toolkit. When you do AI, you can then validate that these are legitimate things. Someone asked if they'll get a recording. Yes, Harrier, if you registered, we will send you a recording. All right. So I answered the question on data cloud. Let me see what other questions are there. Please keep coming with your questions. And also, if you have an opinion on what should be the next webinar about, I'd love to hear. At GPT-5, I get to talk to a lot of our customers, and it would be great to understand, what is useful to you. All right, let's see. So I answered the question on hallucination. Uh, Pricing, LinkedIn group, we've answered all that. Hmm. I think it looks like we don't have any other questions. So let me go back to this and see if there is more I can share with you all. So I think I'm going to stop here. I will quickly go back to this. So lots of resources here. If you're interested, we have some guides that you can take a look at. One in particular is I have use cases for Service Cloud. If you want to look at them, some of the usual ones are listed here. Definitely take a look at them. You can also look at health cloud use cases if you do use that, or financial services if you are in FinServ or bank or something, and for Sales Cloud. But I think the idea at the end of the day is any of these, right? Ultimately, with AI, we have the creativity, so we can decide the direction we want to go in with it, right? And the beauty is just the sheer pace at which evolution of these models is happening. I'm sure in the next 12 months, there will be more compelling AI models. And our architecture lets you bring them, right? So if you have preferences of models, if you want to do specific things, if tomorrow some company comes with very industry specific models, or you have internal teams that are fine tuning your models for financial services, banking, hospitals, whatever it is that you do, then you have the ability to hook those models here. And I think Harihar asked that question: what LLM services would the customer need to have? Any. Just have one. And the idea is that by using your own or LLM models, you are free to lock them down. You are able to apply a lot of security, your own data retention policies, things like that. We have built-in data retention capability, so that all the log records that we generate for AI, you can put data retention and say, hey, delete them after 30 days, and we will automatically delete these kind of records, the security audit records that are getting generated. So I hope I answered that question, Harrier, that you asked. And going back to this, so these data sheets are really useful. You can take a look at them. We also have some analysis here on ROI that you can take a look at. And then one thing in particular, that actually on the ROI that I think I should mention. So this ROI analysis is actually specifically for service and support. So if you're looking at case deflection, you can basically take a look at it and you can say, hey, if I have this many reps, if this is my average hourly cost and they're spending even 3 minutes to write a case summary, you can automate that and you can do a return on investment there, right? There is like a Google spreadsheet version of it. I think if I click on this, then you can basically go download this and you can utilize it. So I would encourage you to download this and put your own numbers, do your own math on all of this. I am a huge believer that we are here to solve legitimate customer problems, and the way to do that is to be very pragmatic about it. Again, GPT-5 is a pretty cut and dry product that you can leverage. Like I mentioned, you can take a look at the website. You can also click on this available on App Exchange, and you can go read up about it on App Exchange if you like. All our releases are from App Exchange. Let me see if there are any other questions here. I'm not seeing any. All right, I know we are slightly over time. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Please do reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm fairly active there. Would love to connect with you if we aren't already connected. And if you have questions, definitely let us know. You can also book a demo by clicking on the book a demo button here. And it's a Calendly thing that comes up, and you can book a demo. Hopefully, this was useful. Please do share any feedback or write comments there, and we will share a recording of this. Thank you so much. Take care.